Over 7 million Americans infected, over 200,000 dead, and now, unfortunately, the U.S. President and the First Lady have both tested positive for COVID-19. Trump's diagnosis came just 2 days after his debate with Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. What are the political and economic repercussions? And now that the virus has infiltrated the circle of those who have long downplayed its severity, what does it mean for the U.S.'s battle against the virus? Joining me now for the discussion in Beijing are current affairs commentator Einar Tangen, Professor Gong from the University of International Business and Economics, and Victor Gao-Zhikai from Soochow University. Welcome to all of you, gentlemen. John, let me start with you. The president's positive test. Of course, let's talk about his health first. The White House's physician said the president and the First Lady have no symptoms so far. But we know that the president is 74 years old. He belongs to the age group that is subjective, more susceptible to developing symptoms. How concerned are you about the president's health?
Well, let me start by first wishing him well, the First Lady well. We wish him a speedy recovery at a time like this, a critical time like this. The American people's hearts are all with the president. We all wish him well. Now, speaking of his health right now, by reading carefully into his physician's public statement, we can sort of infer that I think we are absolutely right that he probably is asymptomatic right now because his physician said that he is expected to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while during this recovery. And also the fact that he is not rushed to the hospital, he is staying at home within the White House speaks volume to his health right now. But as you said, he is 74 years old and he's quite weighty. So we don't know what's going to happen. I think the next few days will be very critical. This virus can have a incubation time as long as 2 weeks. So we'll have to see what's going to happen in the next few days. But in all likelihood, I think he's going to be okay. I mean, look at Boris Johnson. He got this disease, and he actually was hospitalized. But after 10 days, he came back strong and tall. So we would all hope that President Trump will be doing the same thing if it got to that stage.
Right. Einar, let's talk about the fact that it is expected that this positive test will have an impact on the state of the race. Joe Biden just wished the president a speedy recovery. How do you think this test will really change the state of the campaign?
Well, Donald Trump is going to be isolated for quite some time. As my colleague John Gong said, the symptoms can manifest anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks. But after they've manifested, then you're still talking about 10 days after that. That's what the medical experts are going to advise him to do. Whether he follows it is another matter. So you can expect Pence to be stepping up and also Trump's surrogates. As we've seen, Bernie Sanders has said he's going to take a hand in campaigning for Biden. So at this point, it's unknown how the public is going to take this. Some feel that there will be sympathy for Trump. Some feel that there won't be, especially if in a number of his public campaign rallies where they didn't have these protective masks and he was downplaying the entire COVID-19. If those become epicenters, hotspots for COVID-19, you could see perhaps a very, very different reaction. So at this point, it's emotional. People are wishing Donald Trump well as a person, although there is this issue about how he denied and downplayed this.
Right. Victor, what do you think will be the political repercussions of President Trump's positive test?
Well, first of all, allow me to give President Trump and the U.S. First Lady the best wishes, and I sincerely hope they will recover speedily. Secondly, I think President Trump and the First Lady should really heed the medical advices and treat this infection and deal with it in a scientific way rather than in a political way. Thirdly, I sincerely hope President Trump, once recovered fully, should lead the American fight against COVID-19 in a more effective way, demonstrating leadership and use science, put science on top of anything else to fight it. I think this demonstrates once again that COVID-19 virus is the common enemy of mankind, and the world need to come up with a unified strategy to deal with that. Now, another point I want to add is that we also wish candidate Biden should be safe, because he was in close contact with President Trump, and I hope he will be observed for up to about 14 days since the last presidential debate, and hopefully he will not be infected, because otherwise this probably will really throw the U.S. presidential election into great chaos, and we do not know what will be the consequences of both candidates getting infected, God forbid, and we hope President Trump and the First Lady's speedy recovery, and the infection in the United States can be well contained.
Right. It is hoped that there will be a speedy recovery for the U.S. President, the First Lady, as well as all those infected around the world. Let's talk about the economic side of the issue. Professor Gong, I was checking on the U.S. major stock indexes. They opened lower, but not substantially lower. What do you think will be the economic repercussions of this positive test?
Well, I think the stock market is going to respond in kind. I think it's probably responding in kind more for the news that just came out that in the last month there are 600,000 jobs created. So I think the recovery is happening, although may not as strong as speedy as we would like to happen. But I think what's important to notice is that it's not just him. I think the greater risk here is that there's an entourage of people who hold very high places surrounding him that are all of a sudden subject to the risk of being infected. I mean, look at the videotape of the video clip that Hope Hicks boarded that airplane. As Jerome Kushner was there, Stephen Miller was there, a whole range of people were there. They all are subject to being infected. So I think that's the greater danger here. But I think there's a historic precedent here. When Woodrow Wilson was infected when he was in Paris to negotiate the treaty after the First World War. In 1919, the American politics still function fine. I think, I have a lot of faith in the American political system to still function as it is. Not going to be knocked entirely out by, the illness of one president. So I think things will probably coming back fine. Now, in terms of the implication for the election, I think there is a great concern here. Is Mr. Gao has has just talked about, whether candidate Biden will be infected or not. I hope he's not going to be infected. I think election will be going on. Now, remember, during the 1918 midterm election, America was experiencing a much more severe pandemic. That election still happened. Even though the turnout was a little bit lower, but it moved on very smoothly. So I don't see any reason why the 2020 election would be anything different.
Well, actually, Joe Biden will be tested on Friday, according to many sources. Einar, let me go to you. I don't want to make this conversation too political. We do wish President and the First Lady a speedy recovery, but this is a question on many people's mind. Do you think this positive test will garner the President more support, or actually will get more people criticizing the President's handling of the coronavirus?
Well, as I said before, this a lot depends on the factual turn of events. If, in fact, his public rallies, his campaign rallies, result in them being hotspots and many of his supporters, in fact, catching this virus and spreading it around to the people they know, work with, and their loved ones, this could really turn against Donald Trump. Everyone's going to remember exactly how he downplayed this. The tapes from the book where he was saying that he intended to downplay it. He didn't want to, basically come clean with the American public, and his constant statements, even at the debate on Tuesday, where he's denied that masks were in essence very helpful, saying that there was a divided opinion about it. So a lot is going to end. I mean, there's already, you're starting to see all sorts of very, attacks. And, even though after he learned that Hope Hicks had, in fact, come down with it, he refused to stop going to a fundraiser in Bedminster at his golf club. And this is going to, if people from that get this, this will be seen as personally irresponsible on his side.
Right. We have about 1 minute left. Victor, there has not been an official response in China, but what are the Chinese feeling about all this?
Well, I would say any person infected with COVID-19 virus is one person too many. And I believe the Chinese people will be sympathetic for President Donald Trump and the American First Lady being infected. And I think the majority of the Chinese people really wish to see their speedy recovery. On the other hand, I think President Trump's infection also indicates that the American government really need to get their acts together to have a unified strategy, national strategy, to do the utmost to fight against the COVID-19 virus, contain the infection, and making sure that people in the United States are safe.
All right. I want to thank all of our guests tonight, current affairs commentator Einar Tangen, Professor Gong, and Victor Kauchukai from Soochow University.